I challenge you to answer 13 questions about the movie It, Chapter 1. Will you survive my 13 scary questions, or
will your wrong answers lead you into a dark sewer to be devoured by Pennywise?
Let's find out. I'm Griff Robodanger, and this is 13 Scary Questions. Here's how it works. I'm going to challenge you with 13 questions about the movie It, Chapter 1. Now, some of these questions may be easy, but some of them may be
a bit evil.
Answer these questions and keep track of how many you get correct. At the end of the game, we'll use your scores to reveal your fate. Of course, this video contains spoilers, so if you haven't seen It for whatever reason, you've been warned. With that out of the way, let the games begin.
Question 1.
So the movie opens with a prologue on a rainy day where Bill is making a paper boat for his little brother Georgie. Hiya, Georgie. When does the prologue take place? A. July 1987. B. April 1988. C. October 1988. D. June 1998. The correct answer is C. October 1988. In Stephen King's original novel, this prologue takes place in October of 1957.
Question 2.
Now, this prologue, the one I was just talking about, takes place in Bill's bedroom, where we get to see that he has a movie poster hanging up above his bed. Did you even remember there was a movie poster there? Because if not, this next question is going to be a total guess for you. What movie poster is above Bill's bed? A. Ghostbusters. B. Gremlins. C. Monster Squad. D. The Goonies. The correct answer is B. Gremlins. In addition to this Gremlins poster, Bill also has a Beetlejuice poster above his desk. Wow, Bill really enjoys movies exclusively from the Warner Brothers library.
Question 3.
As for Georgie, he takes his boat out on that rainy day and it goes down a sewer grate. Luckily for Georgie, his boat is rescued by Pennywise, a kind-hearted clown who just happens to be down in the sewer doing typical clown stuff. Pennywise and Georgie have this lovely conversation where Pennywise says Georgie's name a bunch of times. How many times does Pennywise say Georgie while talking to Georgie? A. 4. B. 5. C. 6. D. 7. The correct answer is D. 7.
Hiya, Georgie. Do you want a balloon too, Georgie? Me, Georgie. Georgie, it's Georgie. Georgie, take it, Georgie.
Oh, and it turns out that clown is not a good dude. Man, if you can't trust a sewer clown, who can you trust?
Question 4.
All right, I suppose that one was a little bit tricky, so I'm gonna give you an easy one here. We cut to June of 1989, where we meet a bunch of new characters, including Ben and Beverly. And Ben and Beverly meet each other outside of the school, where Ben is listening to his favorite musical artist on his Walkman. What musical artist is Ben listening to? A. George Michael. B. New Edition. C. New Kids on the Block. D. Michael Jackson. The correct answer is C. New Kids on the Block. It turns out Ben likes New Kids on the Block so much, he even has their poster on his wall. You know what, Ben? There is absolutely nothing wrong with having a poster of an 80s teen pop star on your wall. Isn't that right, 80s pop star Tiffany?
Question 5.
The heroes of this movie are the Losers Club. Bill, Richie, Eddie, Beverly, Mike, Stanley, and Ben. Throughout the film, they will be terrorized by the creature they call It, both individually and as a group. Who is the first loser to see Pennywise in the film? A. Bill. B. Stanley. C. Ben. D. Mike. The correct answer is D. Mike. Mike first meets Pennywise at Quality Meats while dropping off meats. This is before he meets the rest of the losers.
Question 6.
Thanks to Ben's really detailed research, the gang realizes that terrible things keep happening in the town of Derry over and over again. A bad thing happens, then it hibernates for a certain number of years, then another bad thing happens. How many years pass between its visits? A. 23 years. B. 25 years. C. 27 years. D. 29 years. The correct answer is C. 27 years. 27 years is also the number of years that passed between the release of the Tim Curry It miniseries in 1990 and the release of It Chapter 1 in 2017.
Question 7.
Let's talk about Beverly. Throughout the movie, she has the same two items hanging from chains around her neck. One of them is a feather charm. What is the other item Beverly wears around her neck? A. A key. B. A pocket knife. C. A heart pendant. D. A crucifix. The correct answer is A. A key. Okay, so that was a ridiculously easy question. This next question is gonna suck.
Question 8.
Beverly's hanging out in the bathroom and she hears creepy kid voices coming from the sink. So naturally, she gets the hell out of there and comes back with her dad's tape measure so she can see how far down the drain goes. Yeah, I guess that's important to know. Anyway, the drain seems to be pretty deep, but the tape measure eventually reaches the bottom. How many inches down does the tape measure reach before stopping? A. 147 inches. B. 235 inches. C. 286 inches. D. 314 inches. The correct answer is C. 286 inches, which is just under 24 feet or 7.2644 meters for my non-US viewers. Also, if Pennywise has that sort of access to your plumbing, why hasn't he sucked one of these kids through the toilet yet?
Question 9.
So the tape measure thing turns out to be a terrible idea, and now Beverly's bathroom is filled with blood, which her creepy dad cannot see at all. But her friends can see it, so they all get together and help her clean up this gross bloody mess. Well, most of them do. One of them stays outside to keep watch in case Beverly's dad shows up. Which Losers Club member stays outside? A. Mike. B. Eddie. C. Stanley. D. Richie. The correct answer is D. Richie. Which is kind of a crazy plan. I mean, it must have taken them over an hour to clean that bathroom. What if Mr. Marsh had just showed up 5 minutes after they started?
Question 10.
Beverly is eventually captured by Pennywise. Bill goes to Beverly's house to look for her, but instead of Beverly, he finds Beverly's dead dad and a message from it, written in blood on Beverly's bedroom wall. That's a lot of B's. What message does it leave in Beverly's bedroom? A. You'll float too. B. Come join the clown. C. I feed on your fear. D. You die if you try. The correct answer is D. You die if you try. You know, bloody handwriting on the wall seems pretty lazy for a monster that can make these kids see literally anything. I mean, he could have at least sent a blimp or something.
Question 11.
So after Bill realizes Beverly was captured by Pennywise, he goes looking for his friends so he can get their help in getting Beverly back. He finds Richie at the Capitol Theater, where Richie is playing a video game. I bet you know where I'm going with this one. What movie is playing at the Capitol Theater at this time? A. Pet Sematary. B. Batman. C. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. D. A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. The correct answer is D. A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Oh, you thought I was going to ask about the video game. No, but you know what? I'm sure you got it right either way.
Question 12.
The Losers Club beats the crap out of Pennywise, and he falls down this big hole for 27 years. Right before he falls down that hole, he says a bunch of stuff. What is the final word Pennywise says in the movie? A. Die. B. Bill. C. Fear. D. Float. The correct answer is C. Fear. One more question to go.
Question 13.
At the end of the movie, after defeating Pennywise, the Losers Club gets together and they take a blood oath. One by one, they each get their hands sliced open with a piece of broken glass, so they can hold hands and promise they'll return for the sequel. Who is the third person to get their palm cut? A. Richie. B. Eddie. C. Mike. D. Stanley. The correct answer is B. Eddie. The order goes Bill, Richie, Eddie, Mike, Stanley, Ben, and Beverly. Are you guys sure it's safe to do this whole open wound hand-holding thing? I mean, aren't you worried about catching hepatitis? What am I thinking? How would these kids get hepatitis? I mean, it's not like they were exposed to raw sewage or... Oh. Did your big brain save you from a horrible fate? Let's find out. If you got all 13 right, congratulations, you defeated Pennywise forever. You figured out how to kill it permanently as a kid, so you don't have to deal with any of this nonsense in 27 years when you're in your 40s and too tired to fight clowns or giant Paul Bunyan statues or topless grannies. If you got 10, 11, or 12 correct, you've defeated Pennywise. But you're not sure if he's dead, so you fill the dairy sewer system with concrete and seal the whole thing. There's no way it's getting out of there. But the bad news is your town no longer has an operating sewer, so now everyone has to poop in the yard. But no clowns, am I right? If you got 7, 8, or 9, you realize you should just leave Derry and not bother with any of this. There are plenty of towns in Maine you can move to. Castle Rock, Jerusalem's Lot, Chester's Mill. I'm sure all of these are perfectly safe towns where nothing crazy happens at all. If you got 5 or 6, you're still technically alive, but you're currently floating in the sewer system with a bunch of dead kids. I'm sure your friends will save you unless they're already dead. Then you're probably screwed. But if you got 4 or less correct, you were just pulled into a sewer grate and eaten by Pennywise. But hey, at least you got to play with a paper boat in a rainstorm for a few minutes. Fun! Thank you for playing 13 Scary Questions. Share your score down in the comments and let me know how you did. Be sure to join me next time for another 13 Scary Questions. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And until next time, later, Danger Seekers.